So it is 7:01. I'm going to start this meeting. It is in front of you is the agenda, and if you got it online, it's the agenda for the regular meeting of council on November 25th. We're at 7 p.m. For those attendants online, just be aware that our meetings are recorded for public viewing and placed on a publicly available website. So first of all, we will acknowledge that we are on the unceded First Nations land of the Hattesack-Chinnikit territory. With that, that's called to order.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Perfect.
Second.
Thank you for that, Councillor Janice. Any errors? Oh, any additions or deletions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that's carried.
Motion to adopt the minutes of the October 21st, 2025 regular meeting of council.
Second that.
Thank you again, Councillor Janice. Any errors or omissions on that? Seeing none, I'll call the question there. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're going to call that carried. Is there any business arising from those minutes? Questions, comments? No? All right. So with that, we do have a delegation today on our agenda. We have David Leach with us, who is the CAO of the Strathcona Regional District. Two topics for him today. First, the regional planning services of the Strathcona Regional District, and second, the Connected Coast project. So Mr. Leach, today in the room with myself, we have Councillor Lewis, Deputy CAO Alana Janice is with us as well. I don't think that you can see her on camera, but she's with us kind of any technical help. We also have our public works foreman our public works foreman Hudson Mahalik, and then online you see Councillor Janice and Councillor Deck. At any point, if you have any, should we do questions during your presentation?
Oh, anytime works. Anytime works for me. Yeah, just interrupt as we go along. I'm all good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here tonight, and
yeah,
I'll turn it over
happy.
to you.
Yeah, happy. So okay, I think I got shared screen. You can see the front page there, because when I pull it up, I can't see you anymore. So just let me know if you can't see or what I'm saying doesn't make sense with the screen there. So
I'll let you know, and then I'll look for Councillor Janice and Deck. If they have any questions, I'll alert you to that. And
yeah. Okay,
perfect.
good. Because yeah, okay, good. So we've had some discussion at the Strathcona Regional District about participation in regional planning. So currently we have a planning service that is just shared by the 4 electoral areas. Now in regional districts, any municipality or electoral area can join a service if they're willing to pay their contribution to it. So as most, if not all, regional districts start with everybody joining the service, and then on the first day, if you will, in around 2008, 2009, when the Strathcona Regional District was formally divorced from Comox, everyone participated in the planning service, and the next day they said, okay, who wants to participate? So at the time, all the municipalities in the regional district, the 5 of them, voted to not participate. So since its inception, we've only had 4 participants in electoral area planning. And through the years, we've had lots of discussion from time to time about other members joining that planning service. And that has come back to light in recent months, where we've had a motion from the Regional District Board that to explore that, what it looks like, and then take that presentation and fill councils in on what that may look like. So here I am. So there's certain things that through joining the service you can and cannot get, if you will. So for example, if you join the planning service, the regional district planners couldn't do your OCPs or your kind of what I'll call boots on the ground planning. What you really are entitled to is voting, and Zeballos would get one vote if they participated in. And I've kind of put a slide together here on the types of things you'd vote on. So you really would have some oversight, if you will, on regional planning matters without the boots on the ground planning. So it's really 99% of it in terms is having a lens and some oversight on planning. And these are the types of things that you would participate on voting on. Participation in the planning service. So by default, member municipalities, as I said, you're in and then you voted out. Electoral areas are not able to vote out of the service. They have to have some land use governance, and so it's mandatory that they participate in the service. And then municipalities and First Nations, which we have the Cayuga checklist at First Nation, can choose to opt in to the land use planning service. And how that's done is by a resolution of council. So often you'll see your mayor come, maybe she talks about things, maybe she doesn't, or they're discussed at the regional district and a vote happens, and then you are maybe impacted by that in your area. In terms of the planning service, it would have to be a resolution by council. So it's not something that Mayor Colburn could put her hand up and say, yeah, we're in. It would have to be a resolution of council to the regional district. So you can, if you choose to, and you can choose to at any time. It depends when you choose, or if you choose. There's no deadline when it's effective to be participate in that service for the following year. So if you give notice by August 31st, let's say of that's gone by, obviously in 2025, but you have up to August 31st to be effective for the following year. So you can choose to opt out of it as well, but the opting in is there's more of a deadline in terms of that. And that's August 31st. So again, participation in land use planning, you don't get any real boots on the ground, but you can focus on shared issues of collaborative planning and land use for the region. That because you don't have any real stake in the community, what you're looking at is having impact, what the impact would be on the region, for example. So sharing the planning for appropriate and acceptable land uses that are not hindered by municipal or electoral area boundaries. Provide regional coordination. Again, there's a real regional feel to this to have a lens on development and growth. You can contribute to the coordinated effort to improve approaches to forms of housing in the region, if you will. Plan and support the region's resource sector, let's say, for economic development. So let's say, for example, there was a land use issue in one of the electoral areas that could have some significant economic development or housing or some jobs created out of it. Even though those jobs wouldn't be, let's say, in Zeballos, you could have a say in how you wanted to see land use decisions made there, and that would have a trickle-down effect on you. And again, if there's issues outside of like economic development, housing and stuff like that, you could have a say on land use issues as or you feel they affect climate change on a regional basis. The value of it. So again, coordinated planning regionally. We're the regional district of the NIMO. So the more directors that participate, the more regional things. Promoting efficient land use, resources, and public facilities in a regional manner. Policy alignment. So this is one of the things, whereas if you're in the municipalities surrounding the regional district, there can be more alignment on what the member municipalities and First Nations growth is, and align better with the municipalities. First Nations, for example, First Nations often feels that they should participate in all land use issues, and participation in the planning function is certainly one way for them to have a say in all land use issues. Again, it gives the board an enhanced vision for issues such as housing, industry, natural resources, economic development, whereas in one area they may feel particular about, density or climate change, natural resources, and economic development, and then the region as a whole might feel differently about, they think the impact of whatever the development may be has a greater impact than maybe the electoral area. So that you could have an impact on. Again, options for planning participation. So full board participation, First Nations electoral area, in the planning service delivered within the regional district. Now, not everybody has to participate. You have the 4 electoral areas, but if 1, 2, or none of them want to participate, that's fine. It's not contingent on others participating in it. So one of the things that, though, I'll say is unique to the regional district here is that we have such a large member municipality in Campbell River. Participation by them or without them can have an impact on your decision. So an example of this is if Campbell River, for instance, did choose to participate in the service, you can see they share in it by an assessment based, and their contribution would be about $443,000. And if Campbell River participated and Zeballos said, okay, well, we'd like to participate, your contribution would be $938 a year. You can see if Campbell River didn't choose to participate and Zeballos said, hey, we have an interest in it, it's almost 3 times as much. It's a little more than 3 times for Zeballos. So there's a financial impact on the smaller member municipalities. Not massive, but percentage-wise, it's quite significant if Campbell River chose to or not to participate in the service. So that's kind of it. Again, I think it's mostly in terms of municipalities participating to have a lens and a say in greater land use issues if that is interest to them. There's again you don't have to make a decision today, tomorrow, next month, next year. It's always available to you. Your decision on joining, there's a timeline in terms of when you choose to participate, when you could participate. And of course, you can always withdraw from that service as well. Which is quite unique, but it's one of those services that you can choose to participate and then withdraw your participation in it. So that's about it that I have on it. There's not a ton there, but happy to ask any questions that anyone has in terms of it.
Perfect. So, yeah, then off to council. What kind of questions, if any, do you have for CAO Beach? Councillor Dack.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
It seems to me like this is a win-win proposition. Obviously, we'll have to think about it for a while, but what are your thoughts roughly on the idea?
Well, I am an advocate for the region, and I personally, it's named the regional district. We're all elected as members to the regional district, and I think there's a benefit to as much regional participation as can be. The electoral areas view it quite differently than that, and I understand that. They like to secure their independence from that, and I think there's always, fear of losing some of that independence and control. So the group is, split on that. But I think the regional district has always benefited from participation from as many of its members as we can. And I think the things we've been successful on, we've been successful as a board. And I'm not an electoral area director. I don't, see a big downside to it, but I can appreciate, some of the anxiety that electoral areas have. There are I'm going to throw about a third of regional districts that have member municipalities participate in their planning service. One of the things that makes us very unique in this regional district is Zeballos, being one of the smallest municipalities, and then you'll have Campbell River, who I think is the third largest municipality on the island. So you have quite they're gifted a large voting strength when it comes to either the budget or regional matters. We have 14 participants on the regional board, and they have 5 votes. Where I think in other areas, it is very, very unlikely. Let's say if you were up in Fraser Fort George, I doubt. My guess would be that and I think Prince George participates in that planning service, that they could dictate or dominate. And I think that's what some of the anxiety is there. But, as Julie will attest to, we always struggle with the lens of, are we a regional district, or, do we operate in our individual areas? So that's a challenge. I support regional, but I don't get a vote.
Thank you.
Perfect. I've not answered that for you. Any other questions around the table about participating in the planning service? I have a couple, and they're just really for clarity. I'm just wondering, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyways, just for benefit of council and for anybody watching. So does this leave any of our local planning decisions to the greater board, so vice versa, or is it
No.
that so is there any of our planning activities as the municipality that would come to the board?
No.
Perfect. Can we use some services and not others? Or is that, does that look like, I guess on the second last slide that said, use planning, on a contract basis with the SRD, that's essentially where that leaves that?
Yeah, so you don't get any boots on the ground services, but you can still contract planning services to the regional district, as you may or might do for things like bylaw or building inspection or something like that. That would contract that work to you, but that would remain yours. Nobody else would vote on that. You would those are just resources that you would pay for, but it would be outside of the planning service.
And those are, so we remain autonomous as the municipality. Yeah. These are just the larger electoral area kind of land use decisions that we would be voting on and making.
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the value of land use planning service, item C, it says policy alignment with member municipalities and First Nations to enable more efficient planning services throughout the region. Does that mean that, we would maybe want to consider changing our policies, or is that something that the regional district would change theirs to align with our? I just want to know how that, give me some more information on that.
Sure. I think the easiest one, and I don't think I'll offend anyone, would be the city of Campbell River and Area D. I mean, they literally touch each other, and I think a lot of people don't know whether they live in the city or Area D. It's that kind of interconnected. So let's just say hypothetically you were Campbell River and you wanted to participate in the service, and there was your OCP and your growth management plan and your urban containment boundary was just hypothetically completely different than Area D's. And you had some, land use applications or properties that bordered on the city. You would likely want to, see some alignment with, land use decisions in there. So that's the type of thing that I would suspect that when I say alignment, it's not like we grab OCPs and we compare them and say these got to be the same. But if those are, familiar with Campbell River, if you looked at Crawford Road, is half a block out of Campbell River, and there's quite a bit of development property there, you would likely want to see some consistency with your OCP. I mean, it's hard to, if you look at, again, I find Crawford Road an easy one, is that because it's so darn close to Campbell River and it looks like Campbell River, and all the people, the housing density is very similar to Campbell River. It's hard for a person to say, I live rurally on Crawford Road, and compare themselves to somebody that lives on Cortez. I mean, technically speaking, they're both rural electoral areas, but I mean, that's kind of laughable, right? So you'd likely, if you were participating in the service, you would like to see some alignment with, neighboring. Where I suspect if you're Campbell River, would you need to see alignment with land use on Cortez through the OCPs? That might not be as critical, right?
Perfect. Thank you for that. And did that bring any other questions from council to light? If you're curious or anything, thank you for that presentation. Appreciate it. It gives us a lot of information and a good place for us to start thinking about whether we'd like to participate or not. So we'll leave that for another meeting. I am sure that this will come up again. But thanks for the presentation. Absolutely. Does anybody else have anything else on that particular presentation about the land use planning? If not, then I'll let you introduce Connected Coast presentation as well.
Okay. See if I can go 2 for 2 on the share
Thanks
screen
for that
here.
presentation, Zeballos.
Yeah.
That was I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, lays it out clearly.
I'm
And
gonna
then if we have any
see.
questions on that moving forward, you're always available through our CAO.
Yeah, and unfortunately missed Pete, but I'll connect with Pete on land use planning and Connected Coast here. I'm just trying to pull up my presentation. It's taking a little bit longer here, so just bear with me for a second, and then I'll try and share screen again here. Share screen. You see this one?
Yes, sir, we can.
Oh man, 2 for 2. Holy cow. Awesome.
Amazing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Connected Coast. So I promised Pete some time ago that I would do an update for folks, and part of it was trying to get to some critical points to give you something of value, because there's always so many balls in the air with Connected Coast. And then it was just trying to get some alignment in the last couple months. So apologize if it took a little bit longer, but I think there was a little bit of value in that. So apologize again. I don't know how many folks that have seen the start to finish Connected Coast. I know Julie's seen it 1,000 times, but I'll do a quick run through to give some context and background. So, indulge me for 5 minutes, if you will, and I'll go through the history in 5 minutes or so. But and one of the things that inspired me was to bring this up was at the regional board the other day. We had some comments about, when are we going to get hooked up, and I know everyone's anxious about that. But a big reminder to folks is that the Connected Coast was always a backbone network. So it is about 4,000 kilometers of subsea cable that runs around Vancouver Island, up to Prince Rupert, across to Haida Gwaii, and into the Vancouver Internet Exchange. It's too small for you to see, but on the right of that image are all the list of the communities of which we called landing spots. So the Connected Coast program that was funded by the province, Indigenous Services, and the feds was solely to provide these high-speed landing sites in communities. So they did not fund anything, excuse me, what we refer to as last mile. So last mile and backbone are two different things that obviously come together and provide, folks with connection in their homes. But from the regional district's perspective, and I know the water's got a little muddy through the time, is our mandate was to put this subsea cable in and bring landings to communities. So that's what the project was. So, and still is. And so there's two partners in the project, Strathcona Regional District, obviously, and City West. So the funders came together and said, hey, look, we think this is an important project. Rural and remote communities have been neglected. We need service. The large telecos aren't doing that. Strathcona, we love that you're interested in it, but you guys aren't a teleco. There's no way you can do this on your own. You'll have to partner with a teleco, being City West, and award the project to the two of you in partnership. So it was, technically speaking, it's about a $47 million award, but in reality, including last mile and all of the other things that go on, we're talking about close to $200 million in the Connected Coast program. Connected Coast. So again, just a few visual slides for those that haven't seen, just to give some context. Again, we're delivering backbone cable. We're bringing the cable, the internet source, from Vancouver across the island, around the island, up the west coast, and to landings and communities. So you can see some of the ships that we have here. You can see reels and reels and reels of backbone cable, and that ultimately plugs into Vancouver and comes up to your communities. So this is the type of work that Connected Coast, what our mandate was to do. So again, province and the feds, the funders, insisted that the regional district, you're great, you're local government, but you don't know anything about telecommunications. We need you to partner with a telecommunications company, because you're gonna have to operate, and them knowing that there needs to be some kind of last mile operator in there. So City West, for those of you that don't know, is a company that has one shareholder. That's the city of Prince Rupert. So they're kind of a pseudo local government independent teleco. They've been around since 1910, so over 100 years. They have about 25,000 customers throughout their network, all the way from Dees Lake now down to Victoria. Probably about 160 employees. Just for some perspective, I think when we started the Connected Coast, City West had about 70 employees, I want to guess. So they've experienced a lot of growth. They're obviously in the telecommunications business. To be a funder in any of the last mile programs, they're only awarded to telecos. So all the money that was out there was really only available for a handful of folks. And if we were going to participate in getting some of the last mile funding, we also had to have a telecommunications partner, and that's been City West. Just to give you a little perspective on City West Network here, maybe not the greatest photo, but to give you some images, and it goes farther up north, so wraps around the island, connects Rupert, heads up north over to Haida Gwaii, goes as far north as Dees Lake, they're in Kitimat and Terrace, and then their network expands into Calgary and back to Vancouver to ensure we have full redundancy across the network. That's really critical to operating any network, is that you have complete redundancy, because there's no tolerance for businesses and industry to not have internet at any time. So full redundancy, important, and City West has a large footprint across British Columbia and into Calgary already. So I showed you an image of what the Connected Coast looked like when they awarded in 2018. That ran all the way around Vancouver Island. And so as we got laying the Connected Coast network, we found a couple issues. Up north around the tip of the island, Cape Scott, not a lot of customers up there, as you can imagine. Quite volatile waters, difficult to get to, difficult to lay cable to, not many customers at all to serve, and high operational expenses. So we went back to the province and said, hey, look, we need to do a rescope of this. It looked cool wrapping around the island, and same at the southern tip on the west coast. Not a lot of customers, a lot of cable, a lot of vulnerability in the network and operational costs. So we went back to them and said, look, we got to rework the network. And the good news is we don't have to cut off any communities, but we have a better way to do the alignment. What that required for us, though, is to find a way, if you can see yourself on the west coast, Cayucit being up top with Zeballos, is that we don't have a feed there. So we went to the province and said, to get ourselves our redundancy and get over to the west coast, we're going to need to go across land from Campbell River to Gold River, and then feed ourselves up to Zeballos, Cayucit, Tassus, and feed our network up there. Because if I can flip back to this slide, the original plan from the province was that TELUS would sell us a signal in Tofino, and we would take that signal in Tofino. And as you can see, all the stuff on the west coast, including up to Zeballos, has been laid. I'm sure you're all familiar with your landing site there. That landing site is technically available to be lit up. And so we went to TELUS and said, okay, this was the deal with the province. And TELUS came back and gave us a price for about 10 times what the industry standard was for a connection. So, of course, we don't have many customers on there. With the price for the backhaul connection there, we would lose money daily on delivering service. So we went to the province again and said, well, this isn't going to work. Your plan was that TELUS was going to support this and we would feed folks on the west coast. That's not going to work. So again, they agreed and said, okay, well, you have to build an independent line and we'll fund that, and that'll come from Gold River to Campbell River. So that line, for you that may have been up that way or not, has been under construction for about the last 6 or 7 months. We're about 62% complete into Gold River. Our completion date is late January to be lit up. And then we will have live signal through our own network right into a Gold River, which will feed Zeballos. So when we started building Zeballos, we anticipated that we were going to get the signal from TELUS and we would feed it up to Zeballos, because that line, as you know, has been in there for some time. We have our landing in Zeballos. It's live, ready to go, but we don't have a feed into it. So that's why we put our efforts into building the last mile there. And then when TELUS, kind of shut us out there, we stopped progress, because we have, as you've seen from the first slide, dozens and dozens of communities to build. And because the network needs to financially support itself, we relocated resources to communities where we had live access and we could get customers. So when you saw us get up and leave, it was because if we finished building Zeballos, there was nothing we could shove through the line anyways, and then we were spending resources on that community where we weren't going to get anything back and we couldn't light them up. So the good news is that we will be through Gold River into there in January, which will give us straight light up. For those of you who are kind of interested in that, so what we have in Zeballos today is it goes from Zeballos down to Gold River, through Gold River, through lakes, forestry lands, highway, into Campbell River, back into the water, down to Nanaimo, and across in Vancouver into the Vancouver Indian Exchange. So that is where your service comes from, straight from the Vancouver Indian Exchange, which is, I think, kind of cool. So this is not the picture. I didn't have one of the Zeballos landing. For those of you who think I was trying to hoodwink you here, this is Tassus. But yeah, I'm sure you've all seen at the end of the road there near the wharf, the landing site, and that's been built and ready to activate at any time. So now we're pivoting into last mile. As I said, we had some money in last mile. I'll flip to that. We were successful in a Zeballos award a few years ago that the village supported, close to $400,000, and that was to provide, I think, about 130 homes, 79, I believe, in Zeballos, and then a number of homes, businesses, institutions on the First Nations and on the way of the First Nations. So we're funded in that, and that's what we do to support City West, because City West can be the only one to access that funding and build that. But again, we want to put our resources where we can churn these areas up and then bring people live and collect revenue on the network, because it costs money to run the network. So again, the two parts of what we have, I try and refer to it as bulk water, if you will, and then the service to the house. You have that bulk water line from Vancouver all the way to your landing site at the wharf. And we've probably got about half of the infrastructure, last mile infrastructure, those connections to the home built. So what our plan is going to be, we'll be live again, push the light through Campbell River to Gold to Zeballos in the first quarter of 2026. And then we will go finish off the remaining civil work that we have to do in the second quarter of 2026. So let's say April, May. And as soon as we finish that construction up there, we'll immediately be able to light it up because we have that service. So I know it's been a long time coming, but there's been a number of reasons why we haven't finished the work there. And if you don't have signal, you can't deliver it, and you can't generate any revenue and provide service to folks there. So again, landing site complete, cables laid, equipment placed, everything is just awaiting that connection in Gold River to push our signal up to Zeballos. Just again, some context for some of the things that I think are kind of cool. Over 3,000 kilometers of subsea cable have been deployed. We have 12 Coast Guard stations, 25 earthquake, early warning, and tsunami. We've done over 480 permit approvals throughout the connected coast. There's a team of 6 full-time people that have worked for the last 4 years just on permitting, an enormous task there. Licenses of occupation, 10-year access approvals, so on and so forth. So just an enormous project that that I hope, again, appreciate everyone's patience, but understand why it has taken so long. Again, if we had enabled that connection from TELUS a year ago, we would have been lit up. We were actually mandated to light up Zeballos. And then when we got our own line through it, then we could have abandoned the telesignal. But it was always the plan until the cost of the service was just not attainable. So that's what I got for an update. I hope that helps, and happy to answer anyone's questions.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Yeah, I know it's been a long project and a real Herculean task to mitigate and work with subsea cable in such a, I think you said volatile, in such volatile areas. So yeah, to Councillor Deck, I see that you have a question. Oh, your mic's off.
There we go. Yes, I can see Dave has a lot of balls to juggle to get to this point. But is it true that you've been operating a backhoe and a chainsaw on the weekends to get this done?
Myself?
Yes.
I would like to say yes, but no. But I can tell you, it's a 7-day-a-week job. The phone was just ringing, and that's always City West, if you heard. And I really respect everyone's patience. And there's been lots of lessons to be learned, but one thing that's challenging, and even Julie sees, and sometimes I can lose my patience, is that the expectations about what we were to deliver, and what we were actually to deliver. And just for some context, I think investment wise, City West has made a corporate contribution in last mile of about $26 million. And so when you see the award for Zeballos that says $366,000, the best the funders ever did was give about 80%. That's the best they ever did. And so then they came up with a bunch of things that are ineligible. So we would go to the local government, i.e. Zeballos made a contribution, and there was always a gap. And in every community, City West has plugged that financial gap, or else we had nothing. Because we're small communities, and last mile is really expensive. So to go and say, hey, Zeballos, we need 500 grand. Well, you might as well say $5 million. And Zeballos isn't alone. They're all like that. And so we've had significant, contributions from City West. And, in my mind, they've been an amazing partner, but it's been such a huge task, and everyone has such high expectations and needs that really one of the tough things for us is to find those spots so we can light up, and then we can also churn some revenue, because the network is about annually $1.5 million to operate. And so this is great what we're doing, but we still need to churn revenue. And so customers want the service, and we want to provide that, but we also need to be strategic in terms of providing that where we can light it up and get customers. So again, you can see here, you've heard it from the horse's mouth, like the line to Gold River is our critical point, and that's what really stopped us. We should have been there last year, fed from Tofino to Gold to Zeballos. That could have easily been done had we got a proper commercial rate from the teleco on that service. And that's just some of the battle that we continually fight. That was really, that probably set us back at least a year in Zeballos, that's for sure.
Is Tassus hooked up also?
Tassus is like you, has a live landing site connection, but Tassus has no last mile money. So Tassus is one of those communities where the province said, you actually have high-speed internet, because TELUS has declared that community as receiving that. So Tassus was shut out of any money. And so we continue to fight with the province over Tassus and Gold River to get them the last mile money. Three communities in the regional district were successful. Cortez was the most. We got about $5 million for Cortez. We got about 800,000 for spots on Quadra. We needed, $8 million or something there. And then we got our close to 400 in Zeballos. But the other areas did not get money, and that's what we continue to fight for.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, the reason that they didn't get money is because they are considered served communities, because there has been a test done by providers of services that have decided that there is enough bandwidth there. There is enough. There's 10 up and 50 down, and that's the way it is. Although when you've gone door to door to test that, it sometimes has not. It often has not been the case. So they're considered served areas, but there's a lot of places where they're actually not physically served with that when you go and test their internet strength.
Yeah, Teleco is real interesting how they measure service as well. So, everyone here supports local government. Let's take water. If you had 80 customers in Zeballos and you gave 75 PSI to 3 of them and 4 PSI to the remainder, the type of flack you would get. And then you charged them all the same. You said, oh, you're getting water. Well, in the telecommunications, how they're allowed to declare it, if they deliver that to 1 or 2 homes, they just show that and say, no, the community's served. And the challenge that we continue is saying, if you pulled that stunt with sewer, water, power in local government, you'd be lynched. Like that, you just would not get away with that. And yet they'll, I think we're in Quadra in an area, we found 130 homes and 2 of them were getting 50-10, just barely. And the result was, well, what's the problem? They're served, right? So, that has been a real challenge. And again, TASIS, we even had a report that the province commissioned and said they can't get high speed, they don't offer high speed, and the infrastructure that is there cannot deliver it. And yet they still fight and say, no, there's a couple homes that at the best of time of day can get high speed internet. So you really fight with the large telecos to let go of those communities. Luckily in Zeballos, that was not the case, but we had an unforeseen challenge with buying the signal. The signal that we need for Zeballos probably cost commercially $1,500 a month, and the price we got was $29,000. So it's, you can appreciate we're not collecting $29,000 a month from Zeballos customers. So what do, right? You got to find another way. Luckily, we were able with the province to cross from Campbell to Gold River, which is that's quite a feat in itself.
I bet. All right, and thank you for that update. Really appreciate that. Hopefully that answers questions, and we can point to anybody to the recording of this meeting to find out more, right? So
yeah, so for sure your second quarter 2026, and I know you've been hearing it's coming, but you got your landing there, and all we need to do is plug in a signal that comes from Gold River and we're good to go. And we don't have a ton of construction work to do in Zeballos. So as soon as we get that light up, crews probably don't have much more than a week or 2 worth of work in Zeballos. So they'll just wait till we're lit up, come in, finish that work, and everyone will be connected at once.
Perfect. And that those civil works will include Maquinna, I'm expecting.
Pardon me, sorry?
Those civil works will include Maquinna, I'm expecting. Maquinna Avenue, the main road?
Yeah.
Or somehow.
There is, as I understand, at least 50% of the work already done. I think we're going to finish up on the poles. So we're going through again a pole access application, which needs to be approved by TELUS, which often takes a long time. But we got line of sight on that. So
Awesome, thank you so much. That bring
Yeah.
up anything for anybody else, or does anybody else have any questions?
Oh, just thank you, Dave.
yeah,
And
no,
keep-
appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Keep
Yeah.
fighting the good fight.
Yeah, appreciate it. And again, let Pete know. I'll connect with them when he's all backed and sunned and tanned, and I'll fill him on the details as well.
Perfect, thank you so much for joining us. I know that it's
Yeah.
been probably a very long day for you.
No,
as
it's all
we
good,
don't
yeah.
Usually do evening meetings, but we really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, happy to. All right, chat
All right.
soon.
Have a good
Okay.
Bye,
evening.
David.
Thank you.
Okay, bye now.
Thank you.
All right, folks.
Right.
Right, and for good updates, for sure. I'm just happy he was able to join us.
Explains a lot of stuff.
It certainly does. All right, so I am at, on our agenda. We are at, fire department monthly operations report. Is there any questions or comments on that we could, if there were, we could direct staff to ask and get to us?
Nothing here.
Nothing here.
Seeing none, I'll move right ahead then to the public works report, and our public works warden Hudson O'Hallock is here. We could ask him any questions through the deputy CAO if we needed to. Was there anything?
Nope.
Oh, man.
Has there been any move? I just had one. Not seeing any hands flailing. Has there been any interest in the garbage truck? Oh. Through,
I believe not. I was actually just about to ask that question when I came in today, but I don't think there's been any.
hey, not yet, that's really good. All right, so Public Works is done. Open the page. We have Vancouver Island Regional Library appointments. I have heard through our deputy CAO, Alana Janice, that Councillor Deck was in today and declared his interest in continuing on. Is that correct, Councillor Deck?
That's correct.
So if there's no one else who wants to have that, if we don't want to fight about it here, folks, then we could just have a resolution, and that resolution is on page 21. And it would be January 2026 to December 2026 would be the new resolution that we would put this evening. So if anybody wants to make that.
Move that Councillor Ron Deck be appointed as Vancouver Island Regional Library trustee for the village of Zeballos from January 1st, 2025 to 2026.
Yes.
To December 31st, 2026, and Councillor Justin Janice be appointed as Vancouver Island Regional Library alternate trustee for the village of Zeballos for the 2026 term.
And of course, I just, excuse my not checking first, Councillor Janice, were you still willing to be the alternate for that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that as well. So that's been moved. Any second?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Deck, for that, for sure. And thank you both for standing for that position. I really, it's appreciated. And we thank you for your service. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. That covers kind of regular business. So we do have to go in camera. If someone would make that motion.
Council to go in camera under Community Charter Section 91C, Labor and Staff Relations.
Second that.
Perfect. Questions, comments? No, nothing to add to that. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that is carried. We do not have any, is one in the gallery tonight? for questions on the material covered on the agenda. So we can
Motion to adjourn?
absolutely. It's been moved. Anybody want to second it?